Benjamin Netanyahu is proposing a full takeover of the Gaza Strip when he's met with his security cabinet. I can't say anybody's surprised. I'm Cam with The Bulwark, and I'm joined today by my friend Jack Cocchiarella to talk about how this was the plan all along. Jack, did you see this?
I did, but still, I guess the worst thing is that Netanyahu likes Burger King over McDonald's. At least that's what the Nelf boys would tell you to distract. But yeah, it's getting pretty evil and sinister, or I guess not surprisingly so for people who have been paying attention all along. But let's get into this, Cam.
The die has been cast. We are going for the full conquest of the Gaza Strip. Local journalists quote a senior official as saying, responding to reports that the army chief and other military leaders opposed the plan. This unnamed official said, if that doesn't work for the chief of staff, he should resign. So we have an extremist government here in the state of Israel. And I'm wondering what you think could possibly be done at this point to prevent the annexation of Gaza.
Well, it seems like nothing is going to be done by Donald Trump, and I don't think that I need to loop him into every single conversation, but the pro-peace ticket doesn't really seem to be achieving its objective, and it just makes Donald Trump and really just Joe Biden as well look so sad and small in the context of a plan we always knew was happening, but these leaders, and I don't want to lump Trump into the category of that, but just never really wanted to acknowledge for so long those who spoke out. And I remember at a liberal media creator conference called Trending Up, it was last year when creators confronted Cory Booker about this. And he said, you're wrong. You don't know what you're talking about. The truth is that there's so much information I'm privy to and you're not. You'll see what happens. And it turns out those folks were right about what the inevitable goal here was. But to anyone saying that a strategy of appeasement with Netanyahu or a continued relationship on the basis of him eventually listening is an expected outcome, it's just kind of egg on your face at this point, really.
And Trump is obviously giving Netanyahu carte blanche to do pretty much anything he wants as long as it's something that doesn't really involve us. But this whole thing has involved us. Our taxpayer dollars have been paying for everything that's been going on. And it is something that is extremely alarming and something that will be a stain on the United States the same way that the Iraq War was. But there's just something different about this because we have had every opportunity to put some sort of pressure. And there were a few things that happened during the Biden administration. You know, there was talk of certain red lines and everything, but the Democratic Party is changing tune on this. You're seeing Democrats recognize that in the midterms, in the primaries, and in 2028, Democratic voters are going to be swatting down the politicians who still stand by this. You even saw Richie Torres, who might as well be an operative for the state of Israel. He is a congressman where the district that he represents is the state of Israel. He even tried to change his tune, mind you, just for a minute, and then he kind of went back to everything and did the classic blame Hamas, blame Hamas, blame Hamas song that AIPAC likes their puppets to sing. But you're seeing a lot of politicians. John Ossoff voted to stop the sale of firearms to Israel. He didn't vote to stop the sale of bombs, but we saw for the first time a Democratic majority in the Senate voting to put any pressure on Israel at all. And this is how you know things are changing. The American people are not standing for this. A lot of people in MAGA/Republican world aren't standing for this. This is very bad for the state of Israel as a nation long term. The families of the hostages are furious because the plans to annex Gaza are obviously going to put their kidnapped family members at risk. And I don't see who the winner here is, because again, the state of Israel, this is going to turn them into a pariah for many years to come. And I'm wondering what American politicians can do at this point to, in any way, shape, or form, stop the slaughter and stop and this is me quoting Israeli government officials, conquest.
Yeah, and you kind of made the point there about the Democrats changing their tune a little bit. Do you think that's because of this issue alone, or does this kind of have more to do with the party's attempt to rebrand away from how they're viewed as feckless, right? Constantly bending the knee, an inability to be held to account for war crimes that are being committed that run completely counter to, any espoused ideology of the party. Do you think this stands alone, or is this in conjunction with all that we're seeing as the party kind of tries to reshape itself against the feckless narrative and against corruption rampant through our political system?
Things were already at a point where there was no coming back from this before the reports of starvation. But even publications like the New York Times and comparable organizations that have been sort of covering for the state of Israel for the past couple of years, there's the occasional obligatory article about suffering in Gaza, but generally speaking, these publications have been far more on the side of the state of Israel. You see reporting now on the human toll of this devastation, and I thought that we had reached a point of no return for Israel, which is a country that was normalizing relationships with countries that you wouldn't expect before October 7th. And then the starvation stories started to hit. And that's when I think the state of Israel's relationship with the world officially ended. The reports of starvation and the fact that the Israeli government and the IDF and everything tried to quickly scotch tape together this narrative that they actually are trying to let the aid in and it's Hamas stealing the aid. Meanwhile, we just did a video on this. The IDF has now come out and admitted that they don't have any concrete evidence about that. And the state of Israel is arming clans to, quote, oppose Hamas, clans that are stealing aid from the trucks. I don't understand what can be done for the state of Israel to rally from this. And also, Netanyahu is an extremist, and Netanyahu is an extremely violent politician who advocates for violence left and right. But the rest of the Israeli government, they're even more aggressive. Like, Israeli ministers go in and say stuff like, we are not focused on precision with our strikes. We are focused on maximum damage. We're seeing footage now from helicopters of Gaza completely destroyed. And once journalists are able to access Gaza, it's game over. So I think that Netanyahu's government admitting that they are in conquest mode, there's no coming back.
Do you think that Trump wants to make this a wedge issue for Republicans to stick with him at a time where he desperately needs them? Like, do you think this is going to be something he tries to use to unite the Congress around him and maybe distract and do a Democrats want Hamas to win thing? Do you think that's a lever that Trump's going to pull?
No, honestly, I think that he and Bibi have a great relationship. I think the Mossad has a lot of leverage over us because the Mossad is well known to have intelligence about American politicians that they don't want to get out. But generally, I think that Trump sees all of these things as opportunities to bring news stories into the news cycle that are not, he is a pedophile who is a child. I don't want to get into the algorithm here, but a child R-wordist. I think that anytime something comes into the news cycle now that it has nothing to do with Donald Trump's obvious connection and crimes with Epstein, I think he's cool with it. I mean, it's not like he is a personal fan of the state of Israel, right? There's a lot of stuff that Trump defends and advocates for where it's not something that he likes or even cares about. I mean, you saw when Israel and Iran were in the, quote, 12 days war that's going to be coming back any day now. He said, these are two countries that have been at war with each other for so long, they don't know what the fuck they're doing. So I don't think Trump has any emotional allegiance to the state of Israel. I think the Republican Party just doesn't want to piss off its evangelist Christian base. And, Christian evangelists make up most of the Zionist base in this country. So they're going to continue marching to Israel's tune. But the fringe people who very much control narratives that fuel MAGA world are not okay with this.
Yeah, no, they're not. The Tuckers, the Candace Owens, the media figures. Again, this is another institution. Really, this is just another institution. Israel is another institution in our government. And so they're going to be the anti-institution people, whether that be because that fits their narrative, whether it be because of actual anti-Semitism. I don't really think Marjorie Taylor Greene feels, any sort of empathy or sees the humanity in starving children in Gaza when she doesn't care about starving children in the United States. But I do think this is going to become just another wedge issue for 2028.
I think that the pod save guys and that a lot of people on the internet were correct to say that the 2028, Democratic nominee is going to be somebody who is virulently opposed to this. I don't know how many Democratic leaders have actually maintained moral clarity on Gaza, except for the only one I could think of is Beto O'Rourke. Bernie Sanders has towed the line and ultimately been one of the best leaders we have in the government against what's happening. But generally speaking, Beto's the only one I could think of who from day one was talking about how there are atrocities to come and there are atrocities still coming.
And Cam, someone who and yourself has been outspoken for so long and has obviously taken a lot of shit for it. How do you feel about Democrats who are, I don't want to say closing the gap, but are coming to a place of moral clarity, that are speaking out, that have changed their tune? You know, obviously it's not because they learned something. They're getting intelligence briefings every day. They should know. But for people who have stuck their neck out like yourself and been punished for it, what do you want to see of people who haven't spoken the way they should, who haven't acted the way that they should? Is there some reservation that you have about bringing everyone into the fold, expanding the tent to, more centrist liberals, or is there some rightful reservation against that? Just like, how do you feel?
This is how I feel when celebrities speak out about it, and the people who I see online are more upset that it took them this long. It's like, yeah, shouldn't have taken you this long. But at the end of the day, anyone who is opposing this, the crisis is not over. The dust has not settled, and the worst has yet to come. So I'm not here to
play the I'm first game.
Kick people out for changing to. I don't think that it's taking a position of moral clarity. I think it's taking a position of political savvy. But I don't care. I need people voting against sending weapons and bombs to them instantly. So if they want to do that far too late, that is their cross to bear when their primaries come, when the next elections come. And I'm glad they will be facing those problems. But for now, people need to stand against this, because anything at all that can be done to stop this slaughter needs to be done. So to anybody who thinks that it's too late to speak out, the best day to speak out was a long time ago, and the second best day to speak out is right now. So do it. And if people want to give you shit for how long it took, ignore them, because speaking out is better than not speaking out. Everybody with Bulwark, we're Jack and Cam. Thanks so much for joining.